So here it is. This is Baruch Fleischman, and this is the crown of the daytime reading learning that we're doing today. It's Aryeh Kaplan, Anthology number 1. These are 3 books, or maybe 4. I'm not sure exactly what we have here in this anthology, but Rabbi Kaplan wrote small books, but the words that he used are just absolutely tremendous. He is definitely a revered teacher. This going back in my history, probably 40 years that I was learning Rabbi Kaplan. And as we know, he died suddenly without any particular warning, but he achieved tremendous, tremendous things for us. Here's Rabbi Pinchas Stolper, who's talking about him, and Rabbi Stolper says that he was the person who was the original, I guess you would say, the editor of Rabbi Kaplan's original books. So he had mentioned a lot of them, and now he's talking about the fact that Rabbi Kaplan was really directed towards the unaffiliated youth in a program called the National Council of Synagogue Youth, which is called NCSY, which is a program to bring people into Judaism, young people into Judaism. And he was very successful at that, and that's where we're picking this up. Aryeh Kaplan's unusual warmth, sincerity, and total dedication to Torah were an inspiration to the thousands he reached personally. His home was always open, his table crowded with Sabbath guests and students. He traveled far and wide to share his knowledge and commitment with young people, seminars, retreats, and college campuses. He helped create an NCSY collegiate organization, which, though and no fault of his, was short-lived. Rabbi Aryeh Moshe Eliyahu ben Shmuel Kaplan abandoned a promising career in physics, deciding instead to devote himself totally to the dissemination of Torah. He succeeded and united many elements in one personality. He was the Talmudic sage, the man of halacha, the master of Western civilization, and a scientist, with an uncanny grasp of Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, and Hasidic thought. In the process of bringing Torah to the masses, Rabbi Kaplan revealed much that was previously hidden. His mind contained libraries of books waiting to be put into writing. It was the will of the Lord that so much be revealed and then no more. I had the pleasure as serving as the editor of the books published in these volumes, so much so that Rabbi Kaplan trusted me to edit without his reviewing the final draft. Since his passing, it has been my privilege to continue to serve in this role. His name and memory are for me a sacred trust, a jewel on the crown of the Torah. Hopefully they will adorn the reader's crown as well. And this is the beginning of the first book. And we're going to still have a little introduction to go. This is Maimonides' Principles, the Fundamentals of Jewish Faith. You want to know what it means to be a Jew? Well, this is an opening to find out. They're also called in Hebrew the Yud Gimel Ikriim, which are the basic principles, Shel HaRambam, that are coming from Maimonides. Now let's read over here. We'll start reading into this as time permits. And he says, this is a preface to this book on the 13 principles brought to us by the Rambam. The very formation of a system of Jewish discipline is more profound than the discipline itself. He says, what? The formulation of a system. In establishing the 13 principles of Jewish faith, the Rambam, Rabbi Moses Maimonides, is stating that being Jewish itself is an obligation. In so doing, the myth of often repeated expressions such as "I am a Jew at heart" is put to test. To be a Jew at heart requires the development of a sense of obligation to the heart of Jewishness. Rather than a do-your-own-thing system defined by the individual, being Jewish means individual articulation of the established 13 principles of faith. So he says, in truth, it is the contemporary Jew himself who has put this myth to rest. We are experiencing what has been popularly termed a generation of tshuva, which I am proud to say that I am a member of. It is our contention that young Jews today have moved the tshuva movement to a new place of development. No longer are contemporary Jews interested in learning about Judaism. There is an eagerness to learn and live Judaism itself. There has been a demand of late for Jewish classical literature in the vernacular as opposed to books about Judaism. Now let's understand what he means. He means to say that to go to the core, that's what he said, the core of Jewishness. To do that, you have to go to the actual books themselves, not books about the books. And the response has been a noble one. In recent years, the great works of traditional Jewish literature have been made available to the layman and have greatly advanced the cause of Torah and mitzvahs. As you know, that in the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, we learn the Matok Midrash, we learn the Tivah Gavonos and the Shara Gavonos of the Aryeh Kaplan, we learn the Zohar, we learn things that are available to us that were never available before. And so the being Jewish is now being approached by young Jews throughout the world with that sense of obligation which lies at the heart of the Rambam's principles of Jewish faith. The challenge is to oblige this growing sense of obligation. In this vein, it is instructive to know that the Ravad, now he says, who's the Ravad? There might have been more than one, but at any rate, the Ravad was an opponent of the Rambam, whose name was actually Avraham ben David, takes issue with the Rambam with regard to the third of the 13 principles. What is this principle? This principle, according to Rambam, states that God has no bodily form. Ravad insists that the non-corporeality of God is not to be considered as one of the 13 principles of Jewish faith. To be sure, Ravad's disagreement with Rambam is not based upon a convention that God, in fact, does exist in bodily form. He's not trying to say that the opposite, that God does exist as a body. Clearly, Ravad's concern is that the many anthropomorphic references of the Torah, like, for example, the hand of God, will lead the unschooled layman to conclude that he is, in fact, does embody Jewish human form. If this then was a fundamental principle of Jewish faith, contends the Ravad, many unknowing laymen would be discouraged from living up to Jewish expectation. Ravad's concern, therefore, is that the spirit of the Rambam's fundamental principles should open doors to the searching Jew rather than close them. This popular version of the 13 principles of Jewish faith represents a summarized version of the original work, which appears in the Rambam's commentary to the Mishnah Sanhedrin. In presenting the commentary to the popular version, Rabbi Kaplan draws upon the original work as well as other sources, utilizing his extensive knowledge of Jewish sources. This work is an effort to perpetuate what was undoubtedly the intent of Rambam in presenting these fundamentals, to open the doors of the stores of Torah, living and learning for the unschooled, as well as to provide a keener understanding of the basic principles of Jewish responsibility to both schooled and unschooled alike. It is at the heart of this presentation. May its dissemination encourage increased sensitivity to the way of Torah. This is Baruch Fleischman. This is the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. We are moving forward in Aryeh Kaplan's The 13 Principles of Faith.